Welcome back, everybody. This is a quick video that I want to make that hopefully in the future when somebody asks me what kind of blank do you use, I just refer them to this video. And I've done this for long enough that if I change my mind, I will probably, like all the new YouTubers, do a review on the product that I'm referring to and why did I replace it with my old thing. Now, we're going to talk about Flux today. What kind of Flux do I use? That's the question that we're going to answer today. Now, most of the times, and many people will not like it, I use this one. This is an Cheapo plumbing Flux. Plumbers use it, and like you see, it's really used. It's good. It's cool. But you need a fume hood for this. You need a fume extractor because this is Rosin Flux infused with corrosive acids. And some surfaces really cannot be soldered on without this. Now, you need to clean it after you're done because you're just gonna melt it and it's gonna leave a pile of goo on it. And yeah, I don't really like that. I do clean it. I don't like that, but it's the best performing in my opinion. Now, many people would not suggest me to use this on electronics, and I usually don't. I don't use it on printed circuit boards. Well, at least not anymore. I used to use it, but no, not anymore. This is what I mostly use to join two wires together because it allows me to use a soldering iron with the solder that has the flux melted away, and when I put it here, it just starts bubbling and sparkling and everything else, and it just evaporates, and the flux and the solder just clearly and cleanly spreads out everywhere. And in almost all of the videos I've used before, this Flux is very good. But I do not recommend long-term usage of it because it has, like I said, corrosive acids on them, and they're not good for your health. Seriously. I've seen my idols like Northridge Fixed, Louis Rossman, Adam on IT, and if I forgot someone, I'm sorry, but those are the guys I mostly watch. Oh yeah, Sorin from Electronics Repair School. Sorin, we're neighbors. You're from Romania. I'm from Serbia, so shout out, my brother. I've learned a lot from you. They all use this Flux and the syringe, but since I'm living in a country where the standard is not really good, even though I'm college educated and everything else, and I'm doing a college educated job and everything else, I'm not making that much money that I can buy a genuine Amtec. So I bought this Chinese knockoff. The only problem with this Chinese knockoff is that it sucks. It's not good. It just melts off. Yes, it is no clean. You don't need to clean it. It doesn't leave any residue on it. It just evaporates. It goes anywhere, but it doesn't really do the job that it's supposed to. I don't like it, and I do not recommend it, and in my opinion, it's bad. It sucks. If you can afford Amtec, go with Amtec. Do not buy any other knockoff like this because these knockoffs are not worth it. They're bad. Sorry. The next type of soldering paste is really good. And this is actually a new can that I bought. It's just thermo pasty whatever solder paste, and it's actually not a solder paste with solder in it. It's Flux. It has this really cool amber color, which means that it has a lot of rosin in it, and it's really cool. It's sparkly and it's good. It's also no clean, but when the surface is really dirty, it doesn't clean it that well. It does help the solder flow, but it doesn't clean the surface. I mean, it does, but not that well. It cleans it from oxidation, but not from any gunk and dirt. I had to scrape it. So whenever there is a gunk and dirt that needs to be cleaned, I use this one. And this one is for everything else, and I use this one for printed circuit boards. But this one is not my favorite. Despite what I'm saying and despite what I'm telling you right now, it's not my favorite. It's really good. It's really good. I do recommend it because it's jello-y and it's cool, and you can apply it. I use a toothpick to apply it, and you can apply it with a toothpick, and that's it. My favorite type of solder, and it's a recommendation from Rosin, from Electronics Repair School, and it's this. It's from the same company, Thermo Pasty. It's called Rosin. Many of you guys just call it Rosin. In my country, it's called colophonium, California, whatever you call it. I don't care. It's just tree rosin. Okay. And as you can see, it's very amber. It's very clear. It's very sparkly. But the only problem with this thing is that it's solid. You can see the bottom, but it's solid. How do you use a thing like this? Well, you get your hot soldering iron with a little bit of solder on it, and you dip it here, and while it's still hot, and while this thing is still evaporating, you transfer it to the circuit board, and then you do the job that you need to. But that's not the optimal way to use it. The most optimal way to use it, again, shout out to Rosin, you are a legend, my friend, is to dissolve it in isopropyl alcohol. The downside of this is that it's thermal isolator, so it requires a bit more heat before you desolder the component. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because when it melts, then the component is ready to be lifted off. You're not gonna fry the component with hot air or something like that. So it's really good. Now, how this works, you just open it, dab it on the circuit board, and when you get the soldering iron in, the IPA, the isopropyl alcohol, evaporates completely, and it just leaves this residue. I really recommend that you check Rosin's video. It's called About My Flux or something like that. About the flux that I use. I will link it down below. Seriously, shout out to you, my man. This is the best thing ever. And you do not need a fume extractor for this, because this is pure rosin. This is not a rosin-based paste or a rosin core solder or something like that. It's pure rosin. It comes from trees, so you don't really need a fume extractor. This is not gonna harm you in any way, seriously. So I do recommend this. It's not ideal for every situation. Like I said, sometimes you might need to use this, or when you need to clean everything, you need to clean the surface very well, you use the plumbing soldering flux. But most of the time I use this because when you finish working with it, when you dab it on the circuit board and let the IPA evaporate, it leaves a blob that is solid. And that blob is not only a thermal isolator, that blob is also an electric isolator. And you see I managed to break apart with my tweezers, and yeah, it's beautiful, it's good, it smells really nice when it's melting and when it's evaporating. I love it, and I recommend it. So I use this for most of my stuff. Well, for most of my stuff recently. I didn't even know that this existed, that this was a thing in my country, and it is. And I mostly use it in dissolved form. I dissolve it in isopropyl alcohol. The next I use this one. This one is for gunky and gooey and icky stuff. And the last one is this solder paste. I use this one the least, actually, but it has its uses again. So number 1, number 2, when you really need to, and number 3, when there's a really specific situation that you need to use it for. Because this is no clean, this will evaporate. This will not evaporate completely, it will just melt, and when it hardens, it will leave a solid blob on it. And now you might ask me, solid blob? You're just gonna make more of a mess. Not really, because that solid blob can be cleaned with a toothbrush and some IPA really easily, and it's gonna leave a beautiful surface after that. So I really do recommend this. Thanks for watching, guys, and this is my video, and if I change my mind somehow and I stop using colophonium or rosin, I will make a video explaining why, or if a really cool, cheap and affordable product comes around, I'm probably gonna go to that cheap and affordable product. But this is the cheapest. This one costs $1.50 in my country. This one is $2, actually $2.3. I'm telling you in dollars. And this one is almost $5, 4 point something. I hope that answered your question. Again, thanks for watching. This is the best Flux that you'll ever use.